Hello class, welcome to Pre-Algebra Lesson 3.5, which is all about applying integer operations. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to solve problems by applying all operations to integers. So let's jump into our first example. So we want to find negative 4 times 3 plus a negative 7. So something to note, since now we have multiplication and you can see some addition, positives, negatives. Like you might be thinking, well, what do I do first? Do I just go from left to right? Do I have to do something different? And the answer is you have to do your multiplication before you start adding and subtracting. So you maybe knew what I meant when I said this is a negative 4 times 3. There's no symbol written between the 4 and the 3 other than a parentheses, so that's implied that that is multiplication. I like to use a little star for multiplication rather than just going like this, like you maybe did back when you were in elementary school, just because as we move forward in math, that multiplication symbol just looks like the letter X, which gets used in math. So I'm going to use the star symbol to represent multiplication. So I'm going to start by saying negative 4 times 3. So a negative times a positive is a negative, and 4 times 3 is 12. Then I have plus a negative 7. So back in the first section of this chapter, we talked about how a negative plus a negative is a negative, and you just get to add the two numbers together. So negative 12 plus 7 is 19. So our answer would be negative 19. So I started with the multiplication and then I added my two negatives together. Why don't you go ahead and solve this problem on your own? Good luck. Okay, for this problem, hopefully you started by saying negative 5 times negative 12 becomes negative times negative is positive, and 5 times 12 is 60. And then you said 60 plus a negative 15. Another way of writing that when you have a plus minus, so you can actually just get rid of that plus. And so I said 60 minus 15, which is 45. So hopefully you ended up at that 45. If you're confused about any of the steps I just did there, or maybe you did it a little differently but got the same answer, feel free to ask some questions. I am more than happy to help you. Looking at example 2. Same idea, but now you can see we have just another number involved. So now I have 3 numbers written back to back here. That means all 3 of those numbers are getting multiplied together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go left to right. I'm going to say negative 4 times negative 5. So that would be negative 4 times negative 5. Negative times negative is positive. 4 times 5 is 20. And then I still have that negative 2. And, oh no, I did a Command Z to undo, and since I put the parentheses in the wrong spot and I got rid of everything. So anyways, there we go. So I have 20 times a negative 2 minus a negative 8. So now I have a positive times negative, which is negative. 20 times 2 is 40. And then minus a negative, remember that becomes a plus. So I have negative 40 plus 8. And then when you have one sign of each, when you're adding and subtracting, remember that you just figure out how far apart are these numbers. So you do that, you can just subtract. So say 40 minus 8 is 32. And then since my bigger number of 40 is negative, my answer is also negative. So I have a negative 32. So I started with all of my multiplication and I simplified that down to one number, and then I did my what turned out to be addition. All right, I want you to solve this one on your own. Good luck. All right, for this problem, hopefully you started with 9 times negative 1, which is negative 9, and then did negative 9 times negative 8. Negative times negative is positive, and 9 times 8 is 72. And that minus a negative becomes a plus. So 72 plus 13, that is 85. All right, if you have questions about that, please be sure to ask for some help. Example 3. Now we're looking at something that's similar, but it is just a little different. And it's different because instead of just giving you numbers right away, I'm giving you some letters to work with. So we have w over xy plus y minus z to the third. Okay, so this might look overwhelming at first, but let's just replace these letters with the numbers that we're told that they equal. So a W is 36, so I'm going to say 36 over X is negative 6. There's no operation here, so we assume that's multiplication. Okay, so over a negative 6 times negative 1 plus Y is a negative 1 minus Z is a negative 2 to the third power. So we're just going to do order of operations here, which I haven't said this acronym quite yet. It might be something that you're familiar with. P represents parentheses, and what it means by that is if you have, like, let's say I had a 3 times a 4 inside the parentheses, then I had a plus 5, I would do everything inside the parentheses first before I did anything outside of the parentheses. Okay, E stands for exponents, and if you don't remember what an exponent is, this little 3 here is an example of an exponent. It's that little raised number, and I'll review how to solve those. And then this MD is multiplication and division. You go from left to right, and then once you're done with multiplication and division, you move on to addition, subtraction, and again, it's left to right. So there's nothing to solve for parentheses, forgot an S, in this because I just have single numbers in the parentheses. So I'm going to move on from P in PEMDAS. I'm going to move on to exponents. So what exponents mean, this negative 2 to the third power is the same thing as saying negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 2, negative times negative is positive, 2 times 2 is 4. So now I have 4 times the negative 2, positive times negative is negative, 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, so I can rewrite this and then I would rewrite it just like that. Okay, now if I continue on, I have some multiplication, division from left to right. So when you have a fraction, that's an example of division, and you want to simplify your top so it's just one number. In this case, it's already one number. It's a 36. At the bottom, you can see I have 2 different numbers. I want to simplify those together, and I do that by multiplying because that's what's written. So I have 36 over negative 6 times negative 1. Negative times negative is positive. 6 times 1 is 6. And then I still have the same things happening over here. Then I do that division again. I say 36 divided by 6 is 6 plus a negative 1 minus a negative 8. And then I just have addition and subtraction left. I go from left to right. So 6 plus a negative 1, that's the same as saying 6 minus 1, or 5 minus a negative 8. And that's the same as saying 5 plus 8, right? Because when you have minus and negative, it becomes plus, and so the answer would be 13. Okay, so you can see I have a lot of work written down there, and that means so should you. So make sure that if you didn't copy this down as I went, copy this down so you have a nice example to work with as you do your homework today. All right, I have this question for you guys to solve on your own. Good luck. All right, for this problem, hopefully you ended up at an answer of negative 3. If you didn't, why don't you go ahead and take a look at my work, and if you have questions, please let me know. I'm happy to walk you through any of those steps. Just a quick overview, plugged in all the numbers first, and I simplified my parentheses. I simplified and made it one number in the denominator of this fraction. I divided the fraction to get my negative 7, and then minus the negative became plus, and that's how, when I added those 2 numbers together, I ended up at a negative 3. Okay, but like I said, if you have questions, please be sure to reach out for some help. I'm happy to help you. All right, our last example for today. The average temperature in January in Helsinki, Finland is about negative 5 degrees Celsius. Use the expression 9C minus 160, all divided by 5, where C is the temperature in degrees Celsius, to find the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Round to the nearest degree. Okay, So we're going to use this expression. We have 9c minus 160 all grouped together in parentheses over 5. So I'm going to say 9, and then since there's no operation symbol written between the 9 and the c, I'm multiplying. So I have 9 times negative 5 minus 160, all divided by 5. And then inside here, you can see I have multiplication and subtraction. According to PEMDAS, multiplication and division come before addition and subtraction. So I want to say 9 times negative 5 first, which is positive times negative is negative. 9 times 5 is 45. And then I'm going to simplify still in those parentheses. Negative 45 minus 160 is a negative 205, all divided by 5. And then a negative divided by a positive, I know my final answer is going to be negative. And then 205 divided by 5, 5 doesn't go into 2, but 5 goes into 20 4 times. So 5 times 4 is 20, 20 minus 20 is 0, carry down a 5. 5 goes into 5 1 time. So 5 times 1 is 5. If I subtract, there are 0 remainders, so my answer is a negative 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so hopefully that example made sense. If not, that's okay. I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to help you, but I hope you guys have a great day.